Good morning. A little tired this morning, just waking up. Woo! Reading the Mystery of History, Volume 4, page 72. We are on the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, and it's 1799, right at the end, right after the French Revolution. Okay. Miss Hobart says, for me, this lesson is kind of personal. You see, my great-great-great-great-grandfather was a captain in Napoleon Bonaparte's army. Let's see, his name was Benoist Aimable Laurent. She says Loa. After the fall of Napoleon, which we will get to in a few more lessons, Benoit immigrated to the city of New Orleans to make a new life. In New Orleans, he met and married Linda Lefort, another French immigrant who had fled the island of Martinique in an uprising.
Chocolate uprising.
Not a chocolate one. He's talking about a cake that we eat. In becoming Americans, Benoit and Linda changed the course of my family history. So I can't help but study Napoleon Bonaparte with great fascination. Napoleon's climb to power and his eventual fall would affect many generations like mine. Yes.
I've read a book called Who is Napoleon Bonaparte? And on that book, there was actually the famous painting of Napoleon. You know, him pointing on his horse.
We have some French in our family history as well. It's that little, I always forget the name of it, that little part that's like right on between France and Spain. There was like a little country there, the Basque region.
And that's where our French part comes from.
Napoleon Bonaparte is probably most intriguing for the unusual amount of power he possessed. He admitted that it drove him, and he claimed, "Power is my mistress." A mistress is not a good term for us to really know, but
I know what a mistress means, unfortunately.
I love power as a musician loves his violin. That's better. A mistress, Caleb, is when you are loving a woman like your wife, and she's not your wife.
I actually thought it meant like.
All right, Napoleon was born in 1769 in Corsica, an island near Italy. It always intrigues me how this seems so long ago, but it's not like he could help when he was born. It's like that's just the time you're born in, and during that time it was the most modern time. You know?
Yeah.
Like for us, it's like, oh, it's so modern right now. But if Jesus doesn't come back for another 300 years, people will look back and be like, y'all were in the Stone Age. But, okay, so the Corsicans weren't very French. They were not very French. Okay. At the time of Napoleon's birth, Corsica was a French colony, but the Corsicans weren't very French. They were pure Italian in thought and deed. And so Napoleon grew up with a mixed heritage of French and Italian culture. He kept an Italian accent all his life. I wonder what that sounds like, to speak French with an Italian accent. While a soldier in Corsica, Napoleon quickly rose in rank from captain to major to general. During the French Revolution, he was briefly put under arrest. But his status changed when a 5-man form of government called the Directory, we briefly talked about that, replaced the National Convention. When he was just 26 years old, he was appointed second in command of the French army by the Directory. Wow. That's a high position. The Directory was like that little governing body, not little, but the governing body in France. Let's see, the National Convention had been meeting. It was the new system of government after the French Revolution. Let me see here. The National Convention. So at first there was the National Assembly. It dissolved itself, became the National Convention, because there was great division in France, and then that became the Directory, which was a new system of government. It didn't really go. She didn't really go into what that was, but it's basically people meeting to make laws in France. All right, now Napoleon showed his ruthless side that same year by shooting at a rebellious crowd of thousands with grape shot. Grape shot is a mass of small balls packed into a bag, and it was certain to hit and kill more people at a time than just a cannonball if it was shot into a crowd. A year after the grape shot incident, he was promoted to lead commander of the French army. For a victory in Milan, he became a national hero. Not everyone trusted Napoleon, though. Members of the Directory had mixed feelings about his steady upward climb. To keep him out of France, Napoleon was sent to conquer Egypt, which was a mission that he requested. He didn't stay long, though. His troops were struggling to survive in the desert winds and heat. So he abandoned his men to take advantage of the unstable situation, unstable political situation in Paris. You're not supposed to abandon your men, yes.
There's actually, I also read that Napoleon Bonaparte, the Great Sphinx, you see, part of his nose isn't there because Napoleon Bonaparte, I don't know if this is legend or if it's actually...
Probably legend.
Yes, that he, when he was doing some cannon practice, he accidentally shot off part of his nose.
Probably legend. Let's wait to see what she says before we add more to history. In 1799, Napoleon marched to Paris with grandiose plans that nearly unnerved him. I wonder why. It's gonna tell us.
What does nerve mean?
Unnerved me. Well, hold on. Listen to the next sentence. See if you can figure it out. In angst. I'm having such anxiety. Ooh. In angst over the coup that he started, he scratched his face until it bled, and then stormed into the Directory on November 9th to overthrow it. So, his grandiose plans nearly unnerved him. He's scratching his face until it bled.
Like bleeding?
Weird. Yes. Then he marches into the Directory to overthrow it. Though some wished, I guess he's having some type of anxiety that he's not dealing with well, so he's scratching his own face. Though some wished to deem Napoleon an outlaw for his actions, there was relatively no reaction to him on the streets of Paris. A 3-man consulate, which included Napoleon, was voted to replace the Directory. So they replaced the governing body with a 3-man, with 3 men. Within months, Napoleon Bonaparte declared himself the first consul. I shall be the first consul.
What does that mean?
He's kind of like the president or the prime minister, which really meant he was it. Napoleon was the uncontested ruler of France. Miss Hobart says, he reminds me of Julius Caesar, boldly rising out of the first triumvirate.
Julius Caesar.
Mm-hmm. Oh. They think for a minute about everything that France had been through with the French Revolution. The Revolution had done away with the king and put power in the hands of the Third Estate. Was all that work of the Revolution now being undone? Well, practically, but in a strange way the French welcomed it. Why? One reason is that Napoleon didn't call himself a king. A second is that he was an incredible statesman. In his traditional black bicorn hat, which he famously straddled on his head from left to right, he appeared to hold the grand ideas of the French Revolution: liberty, equality, and fraternity. He was smooth-talking and clever. Napoleon Bonaparte said all the right things at all the right times, and he glorified his successes in newspaper articles, which he wrote himself.
He wrote to himself about him.
He wrote the articles in the newspaper about himself. He was like, and I've done this, let me write that. Okay. A grand man, we'll call him Napoleon, was... So he was just, writing about himself, and he was a smooth talker.
I think he knew all the right things to say at the right time.
The more experience you get in life, the more you can kind of, well, some people are so smooth talker, you don't even know that they're a smooth talker. But the more experience that you get, you can kind of see, I think I might need to be a little bit careful. His words seem a little bit too dripping with honey. They drip with honey just a little bit too much.
Yeah, I don't like too much honey on my bread.
So he won the... Uh-oh.
Excuse me, should I go and get my sauce now?
He won the hearts of the men in his own private army. Serving as elite bodyguards in tall bearskin caps, his private army was called the Imperial Guard. Okay, I think we're probably going to stop there. Let me see. Let's look at this picture. I think we'll try to finish it next time. Here's a picture of him when he declared himself emperor. So we haven't gotten to that part. Which is the very next line. We could just read it.
I think we should.
He felt that the title of first consul wasn't enough. He was always wanting more, so in 1804 he crowned himself emperor. He's like, I'm emperor and I'll now need some robes and let's have a portrait here. And he placed a golden laurel wreath on his head. This self-crowning gesture implied that no one was superior to Napoleon.
What's superior mean?
No one was greater than him. Okay, so we're going to stop there. We're on page 74, and we'll finish up Napoleon. I'm not sure if it will be tomorrow, but we will finish him up the next time that we read history. All right, bye.
I